Howard J. Dingers. And this is 3 Count Review.
Welcome everyone to Smackdown Live.
Smackdown Live Edition. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Howard Dingers, and welcome to 3 Count Review, presented by First Round KO, the Smackdown Live Edition. Today I am in studio by myself, and we are going to dive into what I thought was actually a really good, really entertaining episode of Smackdown Live. I had a lot of fun watching this. So yesterday, for those of you who heard my Raw review yesterday, I was not impressed in the least. It was a very boring episode. Nothing really happened, and it seemed very rushed, put together. Here's what's happening in Survivor Series. Here are all our teams, and then a lot of the matches going forward. You have like Apollo Jinder and all this other stuff that didn't really matter, like Elias and Ziggler, like those didn't play into the storyline of Survivor Series. Raw did a very poor job of building. They only really had a couple segments that built to Survivor Series. On the other hand, we get SmackDown Live here, where again they open up with their authority figures. They open up with Shane and Paige, and they announce all the matches that are happening. But then you go forward, and all of the matches, I shouldn't say all of them, most of the matches told stories, and they made sense storyline-wise. They made sense going forward into Survivor Series, and even bringing back past things. Everything worked together, and it was entertaining at the same time. It shows how two different creative teams can get one thing so wrong and the same thing so right on a different show. So it was very, like I said, very entertaining show. So let's dive right into what happened. The show opened up. We had Paige coming out because, they were in England. They're over in Manchester, and England loves them some Paige because, her home country and stuff. So she came out to a huge reaction, and then she announced the best in the world, SmackDown Live general manager, Shane McMahon, and the crowd booed the ever-living heck out of him, and I kind of love it. And this was my thought process, coming off of Crown Jewel, coming off of the World Cup. I really thought that they were trying to play this heel Shane, like him turning heel type of thing, and I thought it was going to happen on this show. And we're going to get into that in a sec. I thought this best in the world thing was going to be like the deciding factor, turning Shane heel. But like I said, we'll get into that. So Paige handed Shane the trophy, and she was like, "Yeah, we need to take a picture because you're the best in the world. You have to take a picture with your World Cup." And Shane said he doesn't think that he's the best in the world. He said the trophy belongs to everyone on SmackDown because he did what he explained it like he acted on instinct. He saw that Miz couldn't compete, and the ref was about to award Raw the championship or the World Cup, and he didn't want Raw to have the title, the trophy. I keep thinking it's a championship. He didn't want Raw to have the best in the world. So the logical thing coming out of Shane apparently was to insert himself into the match and not let that happen. And I still think he quite humbly was like, "No, I'm not the best in the world. I didn't fight in the whole tournament. That was Miz, and I'm not the best in the world. SmackDown as a collective is the best in the world," I guess is what he was trying to say. But we had this weird element of Paige, saying, "You are the best in the world. Here's your trophy. You are the best in the world. Take these pictures." And then later in the night even, I'll jump a little bit out of order here just to tell this story. We had Miz picking Shane as the first member of the SmackDown Survivor Series team. And Shane was like, no, I can't, I can't. And Daniel was like, no, Daniel Bryan was like, yeah, I kind of agree, actually. You're the only one, not the only one. You are the one who cares so much about this brand supremacy thing. And you are the one who acted at the World Cup to make sure Raw didn't win that. So we think that you care so much that you should be on this team. And I think with what Paige did and what Daniel and Miz did, I think that kind of stuff is going to start playing into Shane's mindset, and it's going to start kind of shifting the gears in his head. And maybe he might go, you know what? Maybe I am the best in the world. It's going to, not really a realization, but like a slow, like, I don't know exactly what to call it, but he's just going to start kind of actually thinking like, maybe I am the best in the world. All these people keep saying it. Maybe I am. Actually, I did win the tournament. Maybe now SmackDown's going to win at Survivor Series, and he'll be maybe not the lone survivor, but he'll be one of them, and that'll start feeding into it. So I still, as much as I hated the Shane McMahon angle with the World Cup, if it turns into an interesting character arc with Shane, I think I might be able to forgive it a little. I still hate it, but you know what? I kind of have to accept it at this point. So it'll be interesting to watch that Shane McMahon story go as we continue. So to continue this opening segment, Shane McMahon announces the captain of the SmackDown Live Men's Survivor Series team, and it is the Yes Man, the leader of the Yes Movement, Daniel Bryan. And Bryan comes out and joins Paige and Shane in the ring, and Daniel says he is honored to be the captain. But The Miz interrupts, and he's upset because Daniel Bryan was named the captain, and Miz says that he is 2/3 of the best in the world because he won the first 2 matches of that tournament, and Shane won the last one. And then he had this really funny thing where he said, "Oh, Shane, so how is this going to work? Is the trophy going to stay at my house 20 days out of the month? Are you going to stay at my house? I have plenty of other master bedrooms. One's next to Monroe and all this stuff." Miz is just fantastic. I love all of his stuff that he's been doing. Miz and Shane, so Miz kind of says that Miz and Shane are the best in the world. And Shane says, Shane goes, "I'm happy that things worked out the way that they did, because if they didn't, you wouldn't be on SmackDown anymore, Miz." And Miz says, yeah, but I should be the team captain, And Shane says, based on Miz's performance at Crown Jewel, that Miz should be the team captain. Miz celebrates, but Shane then tells Miz that he and Daniel Bryan will be co-team captains of SmackDown Live. I really enjoyed this angle because it played throughout the rest of the night, where Daniel and Miz kind of had to make decisions together based, who's going to be the other people on the team and how much they actually do want to win and how much they care about SmackDown Live. We'll get into it. We'll get into each little segment as they come up, but the little interactions between the Miz and Daniel Bryan are just fantastic. It just shows how good of performers they both are. So the first little segment we had was backstage. Miz and Bryan were back there arguing. I should be the captain. I should be the captain. Shane tells them that he put Bryan and Miz together because they bring out the best in each other. Miz and Bryan then, as I explained earlier, select Shane as the team's first pick. And Miz says, "As a sign of good faith, I will let you, Daniel, pick the next wrestler." And Daniel was like, "Oh, okay, cool, thanks." And they both looked at each other and smiled. And then Bryan goes, "Weird," and walked away. Great. It was just really well acted. And then they had another segment like this later in the night. The first match we had of the night, New Day versus the Usos. Now, the winner of this match was going to be the captain of the tag team Survivor Series team. It's weird to say that. Basically the 10-man Survivor Series team. And this, I don't know what it is about the New Day and the Usos, but they just have chemistry together. I don't think they could go out and put on a boring match. Even if they only had 5 minutes, I think they would still put on just a cracking match. These guys are just absolutely fantastic. this is one of those matches, this and one other match here later in the night are just one of those matches. I'm not going to go through spot by spot. You guys just need to go out and watch this match. I'm sure it's on YouTube. It's on, go watch the highlights of SmackDown. Go watch it because it is such a fantastic wrestling match. So towards the end of the match, bunch of different spots. Jimmy knocks Kingston off the top rope with a headbutt. Kingston hops up to the top, and he tries to do a top rope Hurricane Rana. Jimmy reverses it into a top rope powerbomb and lands the Uso splash for the win. The Usos are your SmackDown Live Tag Team Survivor Series team captains. God, that's weird. After the match, the Usos picked up microphones and they said, hey, yo, Us, real recognizes real, and you guys are amazing. We always do amazing things, so we want you guys to be the first members of the Tag Team Survivor Series match. And they shook hands, so Usos are the first team in there. I really like this. Like I said, fantastic match. Go and watch it. But yeah, I like this. I think they needed to start building Survivor Series teams a little sooner because now you only had this week and next week to build teams, and you don't get, like last year we had like 4 weeks in between, and we got these interesting invasion angles and amazing promos and teams working as teams, and you just can't do that within 2 weeks. I don't know. It's tough. So as good as I'm praising as much as I'm praising SmackDown right now, they are making the best out of a worse situation. So props to them, but hopefully in the future WWE doesn't book as many events in a row. Backstage, we had again the Miz Brian telling the Miz that his first pick for the team was Rey Mysterio. Miz says, meh, what has Mysterio done? What has he done since returning to the company? And Brian says, well, he beat Nakamura. He beat, I'm struggling to remember, Randy Orton maybe. Yeah, he beat Nakamura, he beat Randy, and come to think of it, he also beat you, Miz. And Miz was just like, no, that was just a fluke. But, if that's your pick, I'll consider it. If Mysterio impresses tonight in his match against Andrade Cien, then he's on the team. And then I believe Daniel Bryan had the idea that Bryan and Miz should both pick one other person. And, sorry. That Bryan and Miz should both pick one other person, and those two people will have a match at the end of the night, and the winner of that match will be the last member of the team. They had another spot where they smiled and said, yeah, this is weird, and then they walked away again. It was great. I really just love the chemistry between Miz and Bryan. All the segments were really well acted, all fantastic stuff. Next we had in-ring segment, Becky Lynch, amazing. As always, Becky is just fantastic. We had Becky saying that Ronda has no right telling her anything, and that Rousey may hold a title, but she is no champion. A true champion faces adversity. Ronda hasn't been tested yet, and that is why Lynch is the champion and Rousey isn't. Rousey's titanium body is going to let her down because of her weak mind at Survivor Series, and Lynch has been tested, and she's the most relentless woman on the planet. I like how Becky kind of uses the on the planet thing. That's a nice little touch. Rousey was handpicked. Lynch wasn't, but here she is. It's not Rousey's respect Lynch is coming for. It's her arm. Rousey may be the baddest B-word at Survivor Series, but Lynch is going to make Rousey hers. Playing off the baddest B. That was a fantastic line. I kind of popped for that. It was a really good line. And then, so Becky starts to leave, and then she just kind of bounces off the rope, and she was like, you know what? No, now I'm all pumped up. Now I'm here for a fight. I want to fight. Someone in the back, come and fight me. Who wants to step up to the champ? And Sanity's music hit. And for some reason, at first, I was like, why? Like, this is is Becky gonna beat up Sanity? I don't know how I feel about that. But then, of course, it kind of clicked in my mind, and sure enough, the three members of Sanity comes out, and Eric Young, sorry, couldn't remember his name there for a second. Eric Young kind of gestures to the stage, and out of the smoke comes running out Nikki Cross, making her, I guess, main roster debut. She's been on the ramp for some women's announcements before. That's beside the point. I'll get into it too, but I don't know if this is necessarily her main event debut. We'll see. But yeah, so Nikki Cross comes out, and she just runs wild in the ring, bouncing off ropes, just throwing her jacket everywhere. And then Lynch tries to talk, but Cross rips the mic out of Lynch's hand, and Cross repeatedly just says, "Play with me, play with me, play with me, play with me." And then Lynch had a really good response. She said, "The champ doesn't play, the champ fights." Commercial break, come back, Becky Lynch versus Nikki Cross. Never thought I wanted this match, but I do. I was really happy to see this. And personally, this was it was an interesting way to pick up Nikki. And I don't necessarily like the finish of the match, but I kind of do at the same time. So, really good match. Cross, with her wild ways. Every bump she took, she kind of laughed off. Like, she would still sell the effect of the bump, but then she would, laugh and be like, yeah, come on, bring on more. And Becky played into this well, where Becky kind of kept getting angry that she couldn't keep Nikki down, but she was still kind of had the upper hand. Cross eventually got the upper hand, was hitting a lot of moves. With a couple good high-flying spots from Nikki Cross. She's just fantastic. She's such a good wrestler. And then towards the end, Lynch sent Cross neck first into the bottom rope and then put her in the disarmer. Cross taps out, and Becky Lynch wins. That's why I don't necessarily like the end. I don't know how much I actually like Cross tapping out. I wouldn't mind Cross tapping out, to Becky on any other day, but her first match on the main roster, on TV, televised, I should say. She's been on a lot of house shows. I don't know if that's the best way to do it. Now, here's my theory and a lot of other people's theory on the internet, that this isn't necessarily her, main roster debut. They think this was just a lot like Pete Dunne being on Raw a couple years ago, and facing Enzo Amore. I think he fought. It's just kind of like even though she's, what is she, like Scottish or something? I don't remember, but she was out there for like a pop for the European crowd because she is European, so that's interesting. We'll see if she stays with Sanity, I guess. I don't know, but I really like this match because other than the tap out, this match really showcased Nikki and her character and kind of introduced her to the crowd. And it was a very good showing for Nikki. It was a very back and forth match. It still made Becky look really good because she was able to, I would say, dominate the majority of the match. Not all of the match, but the majority of it. I thought this was really good. And, if this turns out not to be Cross's debut necessarily yet, if she's not actually yet on the main roster, then I won't mind this because we'll eventually forget about it. And it makes Becky look good because she made someone tap out with the disarmer. You have to make her look strong going into the Ronda match. So I really enjoyed this. I thought that was a fantastic angle. Backstage, Miz and Bryan both tell each other their picks. Daniel says that he picked Jeff Hardy. Come on, Daniel. And Jeff's just not the same right now. And Miz picked Samoa Joe. And Miz was like, oh, I'm sorry. Are you going to be able to hide your personal feelings from what happened last week? Because we all know what happened. We had Samoa Joe attack Daniel last week. So, interesting little story development. Miz kind of, I don't know if they want to tell the story that Miz picked him solely because he attacked Daniel last week, or if he actually thinks he's the best choice for this. That I kind of like that little twist. It could go both ways. Next, we had Rey Mysterio versus Andrade Cien Almas. Another match that I knew was going to happen eventually. And when they announced it, I was ecstatic. I could not wait for this because Andrade has been amazing since he's come up to the main roster. He's been really good ever since. I can't even think of when it actually was. But in NXT, he was losing. And then I believe he actually complained backstage. Him and Del Rio both complained that he wasn't getting pushed more in NXT. And then all of a sudden he was NXT champion and he was just dominant. He had a 5-star match with Johnny Gargano earlier this year. And ever since that, whatever that was, Almas has just been fantastic. So this is another one of those matches. I won't go through spot by spot. Go watch this. This was fantastic. This was you definitely need to go watch this match because it's just, and try to find the full version, not the WWE edited version. Go watch this full match because just incredible. Ray has really had a resurgence, and he's really looking just incredible lately. But yeah, towards the end of the match, we had Mysterio with a slip and slide DDT, and then the 619 dropping the dime for the win. Rey Mysterio beats Andrade Cien. And again, like Almas's matches with Styles and with Bryan, he looks amazing coming out of these matches. He still looks dominant. He just needs to start winning here. They need to start giving him, a Ty Dillinger win or an R-Truth win, something like that. They need to start handing him some wins. I think he has beaten those guys a couple times. He might have beaten Rusev a couple times too, but he needs to start having these quality matches, but winning those quality matches. After the match, Ray's celebrating and an RKO out of nowhere from Randy Orton. So it looks like they're going to continue that Ray versus Orton feud, and I don't mind that feud at all. I think that should be interesting. We should be able to continue Randy's sadistic kind of heel character that he's been running. It kind of hasn't been running since SmackDown 1000, but hopefully they go back to it because it was really good, and I hope that they are able to do that with Mysterio going forward. So unlike a lot of people, I'm actually interested in that feud, and I think it's a good thing for Ray because Ray's, the valiant underdog. He can actually, this could be a 3-match series where you get Ray getting a couple, Randy steals one because of something terrible that he does. That could actually be a good feud. I'm quite intrigued by that one. Then we had AJ Styles saying that he's going to beat Brock Lesnar. That was about it. He cut a promo on how, backstage, mind you, didn't come out for the crowd, cut a promo on how, around a year ago in Manchester, that was when he started his WWE Championship reign. And that made me think, wow, he's actually been champion for almost a year. That's awesome because it's AJ Styles. And yeah, he used Paul Heyman's line. He said, that's not a prediction, it's a spoiler that I will beat him. So I picked up a pattern, and every time Heyman says that, and you don't expect Lesnar to win, Lesnar wins. I think they might give AJ the win here. And that might be me reading too much into it, but I think that every time that Heyman says it for Lesnar, because he said it before the Undertaker streak, he said it before a couple championship matches that we all thought he was going to lose. Most recently, the Crown Jewel one. I don't know. I might have to go with AJ. We'll see. We'll see how they keep booking it next week. Then we had an in-ring segment, and at this point, like a lot of other people, I saw this opinion. I thought that SmackDown was doing a really good job introducing the Survivor Series teams, and they were building them into stories. They had a lot of stories going into them, with the whole Daniel Miz thing, bringing in Samoa Joe. Rey Mysterio with Daniel is obviously the underdog thing, and the Shane McMahon thing kind of makes sense. And then the tag teams, they actually had a match to determine the captain, and then Usos picked them because they respect it. All that stuff is fantastic. All this stuff has been set up very well. And yeah, and then there's me giving WWE credit, but then we had an in-ring segment with Paige, and she announced the SmackDown team, the women's team. She just announced them. She didn't really there was no story behind it, so that kind of upset me a little. But the segment actually worked. So she announced the SmackDown women's team: Carmella, Naomi, Sonya Deville, genuine surprise, and we'll get into that, Asuka, and then Charlotte Flair. But when Charlotte's music hit, it played for a while, and then it faded out. Charlotte never came out. And then Mandy Rose's music hit, which was awesome. Rose walks out and says that she is an upgrade over Flair. She says, I'm the better blonde, basically, is what she said. And Paige says that, no, Rose, you can stop now. There's no way that you will be replacing Charlotte. And Rose says that she doesn't understand why Sonya was picked over her, because she was the one who eliminated Sonya at the Battle Royal at Evolution. I don't know why that phone's ringing. Just ignore that. Sorry. It'll stop in a sec. And then Rose runs down each member of the team, saying some really good stuff. She says Carmella's dance breaks are just like her title reign, short and meaningless. She said Asuka is the Empress of Tomorrow, but yesterday's news. She said, what did she say? She skipped Sonya. Who's the other? Who else am I thinking of here? The only other one was Naomi, and she said, does anyone still feel the glow? Does your husband? Which was a weird... Apparently, a lot of people liked it. It was... The main thing is, Mandy Rose had really good material to work with here, and she delivered it very well. I was very impressed with Mandy Rose. And they're actually creating a storyline out of this, because then Naomi attacked Mandy Rose, and all the women kind of brawled. Sonya eventually pulled Rose off, but then Rose walked away. So they're actually creating, Rose versus Sonya. That's actually a storyline. So I can't fault this at all. Like, there's actually, putting Sonya in the match is going to be good for her, and then Mandy's going to they're going to start that feud. I like it. I like it a lot. Somewhere in here, it's not in this one for some reason. It's not in this results page, but somewhere in here we also had Nakamura cutting a promo on Seth Rollins, and he said, he said, poor Seth Rollins, one of your tag team people had to leave, and your other brother turned on you, but don't worry, because when you come to the United States of Knock America, I'll make you forget about all of that with a knee to face. I thought Nakamura's so good, and I hate that he isn't featured more. He's literally one of my favorite wrestlers, and it just irks me that he hasn't been used more, especially with the U.S. title. I had such high hopes when he started the Knock America thing and all that. That's another topic for another day. Well, I'll talk about that next time, we'll have Eric or Connor or Tom on, and we'll talk about that. And finally, we get to the main event. Samoa Joe versus Jeff Hardy, and the winner will be the final member of the SmackDown men's team. This match, we had Joe attacking Hardy early, and Daniel and Miz were on commentary for this, and they were very good. Miz was putting over why he picked Samoa Joe. Daniel was putting over why he picked Jeff Hardy, and they made each wrestler performer they built them up so well and made them look like the best choice. It was very well done. They're, again, great on the mic. Hardy takes down Joe with a whisper in the wind. Joe destroys Hardy with a running back elbow. Cut to commercial. Joe crushes Hardy in the corner and follows it up with an enziguri for a knee fall. That spot where he runs into him and then kicks. Joe puts Hardy into neck vice. Hardy flares up, and a version of his five moves of doom. We all know the comeback. Twist of fate, and Hardy goes for the swanton, but Joe gets his knees up, which I can't imagine felt good on Hardy's injured back. And then a really good transition from that. So the swanton into the knees, and then Joe put Hardy into the coquina clutch. Hardy taps out. Samoa Joe is your winner. After the match, Joe's celebrating, hands in the air. Yeah, I won. I'm going to be on Team SmackDown. He goes outside of the ring, and he stands in front of Daniel Bryan, and he's just standing there in front of him celebrating still. And Bryan just loses it, starts attacking Joe, throws him in the ring, puts Joe in the yes lock. Miz comes in the ring, pulls Daniel off, and then Bryan decks Miz a couple times in the face, and then Miz is like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? And Daniel's just enraged. Shane runs out and touches Daniel on the shoulder like, hey, what are you doing? And Bryan hip tosses him to the mat. And then Shane goes, Bryan, what were you thinking? And then Bryan walks out. Brian looked so enraged and just angry at stuff. He just snapped. I don't know if they plan on turning him heel. That would be super interesting. I don't know how much I would like that, especially if they made Miz the face. Oh man, that'd be interesting. It'd be interesting to see if they could make it work and how they would make it work. All that fun stuff. Yeah, this was a good way to show, like, so someone, I think it was Luke on Wrestle Talk, summed this up really well. They basically put 4 weeks of Survivor Series build into one night. And while it was very good and very entertaining and it was an awesome show and the stories were amazing, you can't really, the way he phrased it was, you can't reward panic booking. And I kind of agree with that. I don't know. I'm still going to give this I'll give it a 4 out of 5, or 4.5 out of 5, I'll say. This was a really good episode. Like I said, I had so much fun watching this. I needed this after Raw. Raw was just terrible. I was in a super bad mood after Monday Night Raw, even after reviewing it. But after this SmackDown, I was super energetic. This was just a great episode. And yeah, now we're into Survivor Series and a week from Sunday. Yeah, overall, great night of wrestling. I did want to make one more remark, and I'll probably bring this up eventually when other people are here to talk about it with me. Corey Graves does such a good job on commentary. When he berates someone and when he belittles someone, he focuses on the character and not their wrestling ability. When he talks about faces, he still puts them over as great wrestlers, but he just bashes their choices and, the obvious heel stuff. But he never bashes them in the ring, and he specifically puts them over as good wrestlers. I've never really noticed that until recently, but that's just such a good. It's just really good commentary, because then if the heel eventually wins, then Corey can be like, oh man, this heel beat this really good babyface because he put them over as really good. It's just smart booking. That's what you want to do when you're facing someone. It's just wrestling 101. You want to put over your opponent and put over their skills and abilities so that when you do beat them, you look better. Simple as that. So Corey Graves is fantastic. We all knew that, but just wanted to bring it up again. Wanted to explain that a little bit more. So that is all the time I have for today. Thank you guys all for listening. Check out 3 Count Review is every Tuesday and Wednesday at 4 p.m. where we do a Raw review on Tuesday, SmackDown review on Wednesday, and eventually I think I'm going to schedule a slot once a month for a pay-per-view review show as well. So look probably on the First Round KO Twitter for that kind of stuff. So yeah, definitely check all that stuff out. Other than that, thank you guys for listening, and I will see you on Tuesday. To remind her we ain't broke, I'm on the move with it. They all watching like what he do with it. It's hypnotic, I'm on the move with it. They all watching like what he do with it. Look at him go, look at him go, 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 go. Shit with